Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30. Review the minutes of the previous meeting. Any corrections, mistakes?
I move its acceptance.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone is in agreement.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So on your work session tonight is continued review of the draft tobacco sales regulation. You have in your packet fourth draft. It's got a header on it that says fourth draft. And the changes that were made from last month were incorporated and taken out of the yellow highlighting. And we're just left with page 7 to talk about, which is the cap on the total number of permits, and whether or not you want to cap it at a number and keep it at a number, or cap it at a number and reduce it every time a shop closes or fails to renew. So eventually you would cut down the number of permits in town, instead of remaining at, right now we have 16 permitted retail stores and 2 applications for review tonight. So that's a total of 18. Since last meeting, I have had contact with Copeland and Page regarding this, as well as the tobacco control program. They both come up with 2 different ways to tackle it. Sarah McColgan is here from the Regional Tobacco Control Program, and she had heard from one of her cohorts who said that it's just a general cap rather than splitting it into adult only and retail establishments is the way to go. And then the town lawyer had said if you wanted to split them, you need to name them 2 different things. So you'd have to permit them as two different permits. One would have to be an adult-only permit, which we don't have right now. We just have a tobacco sales permit. So we'd be creating a new permit, a new fee, a new category. And even then, I can see the point of the other person, where if you have, say, capped it at 4 adult-only shops, and you're reducing the number of regular convenience store types, I think it could be construed as favoritism or unfair laws. So I would say.
Say that one more time, the last thing you said.
Yeah.
Why?
So his,
This is
I'll
the
read
attorney.
it to you, yes.
Okay, read that to us.
If you were to say no to a general retailer because the town's at the general cap and you need to buy an existing business in order to open up, but the vape store applicant there's 1 license left, so you have a cap of 4 and there's only 3. So he wants to open a vape store, and you can have it regardless of that cap. It will end up in a lawsuit as you're denying the retailer a permit but letting the vape shop open because they fit into a retail.
I mean, I thought the whole thing was to set vape shops in a separate thing.
The point is to restrict the sale into an adult only.
Right.
Yes.
That's saying that should be under the same permit?
Same permit types, yes.
Okay.
The same cap, I'm sorry, they're under the same cap.
Cap, okay.
So we can't cap it at 2 of those, we have to cap it at 18 possible vape stores? Am I
No.
missing it?
No, because if you're retiring them, it makes it really almost impossible for another adult-only store to open unless a retailer converts its store to an adult-only store.
So what we're saying is that we want 2 separate.
Is that true?
I think maybe you misunderstood me.
Okay.
You can have a cap, and so say you cap it at 20,
Yep.
and within that cap, no more than 4 are gonna be adult-only retail. So.
So we're at 18 right now, so we should be at 20, and then we're gonna say only 2 could be adult
Well, you
only.
can cap it at 18 if
Right.
you want.
We're capped at 18 right now.
And say there's no adult stores?
There's 16.
Oh, and they have to convert
And
from
they-
one of their licenses, though?
No,
No.
right now we have 16 tobacco
16.
retailers.
I thought we had 18.
And we have 2 applications for
Right.
adult-only stores. So
Okay.
that's where the 18 comes from.
Okay.
So now, when a retailer, not the adult only, sells a store and the license is not renewed
Mhm.
and it's turned in, and that drops it down to
17.
17.
17.
Yes.
If an adult only store retires its permit, so that would be retired also, so now you're down to 1 adult and whatever
Mhm.
is left. So you could get to the point where there's no adult.
You could,
Mhm.
yes, if say we had 2 adult stores and they decided it wasn't profitable and closed, and didn't sell it to someone else, and they just closed down.
They still would have their tobacco store.
Not if they only had the adult only.
Right.
So if they would have a store and an adult only, and they lose the adult only, they still have the store. But if it's a person that
Yeah,
has the
right,
adult
that's what
only,
I said. Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
But
All
that
right.
would be 2 different stores. They'd
Yeah.
have to be very separate, very distinct stores, almost as if one is on the other side of Harwich and one is on this side of
Yeah, you
Harwich.
can't make a new store out of your store.
Right.
You can't split the room
Mm-hmm. And
and
say,
have 2 stores, one
Yeah.
on each
Right,
side of the
right,
room.
right.
they have to be separate.
Right.
Separate
And
Separate
Yep.
entrances, separate tax filings, separate everything.
Okay.
So then if a store with a tobacco license closes and does not renew the permit, then we would be down to 19.
17.
17.
17.
Because
Oh,
we're at
17,
16.
we're at- oh, okay.
We're adding 2.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
2 adult
Yes.
stores, so
Yeah.
their cap's 18.
Yep, okay.
Yes.
So the bottom line is just, we cap it at 18 instead
Right.
of 2 and 1. I mean, 2,
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
16 and 2.
So
it's
it's happening
18.
at 18.
2 are
Adult only.
adult
Adult
only.
only.
So we're kind of on the same page, it's just how we word it
Right.
than we were when we left last.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments from people?
Not about this item, but I would like to suggest we reserve a slot sometime within the next 2 or 3 years, after we've had an experience with this regulation, to consider Professor Siegel's recommendation of making all nicotine products be sold only in the adult-only store. And I like that idea, but it's too late for this time. But
Right,
besides, we
right.
ought to give this some time to run. But on the other hand, I would like to consider it in the near future.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Point?
Year or 2.
That's a point.
So the town attorney had emailed me with a couple of changes. One is to include a definition of an establishment and a definition of a retail tobacco store, which is, it distincts between the two. So the establishment is any sole proprietorship, partnership, joint venture, corporation, or other business entity formed for profit-making purposes, including retail establishments where goods and services are sold. So that's your convenience stores, what we have now. And then the retail tobacco store seems to me a repetition of an adult only retail tobacco store. I'm not sure if he wanted it extra clear or not, but retail tobacco store is an establishment whose primary purpose is to sell or offer for sale to consumers products and or services other than tobacco products. To sell or offer for sale to consumers products rather than in which the sale of tobacco products is merely incidental. So that and the establishment ones confuse me, and I would not go with that because that seems confusing to me. If your adult only one is where your only purpose is to sell tobacco products, and then he's added in retail tobacco store, it's kind of the same as an establishment. So ignore what I just said. I don't want to confuse you more. I'll take that part out.
Going back to the definition here on page 2, adult only. It says an establishment that is not required to have a retail food permit. So that almost makes it sound like they could. And I'm wondering whether that needs to be changed.
Non-lawyers interpret it that way, but lawyers apparently interpret it differently. So we're, at the state level, we're changing the definition because people are getting confused on exactly the wording that you're talking
Yeah.
about. But I'm not an attorney, so I interpret it the way you do.
Yes.
But what the attorneys have told me for years is, no, you're wrong. What it means is that they do not have a retail, they don't sell anything that would require the retail food permit, which is even less stuff now that the food code's been revised. So they don't have a hot dog machine, they don't have
Then should
things
we
like that.
change it?
It's all closed food, and it's incidental, so it's, a very small percentage of their sales. The bulk of the sale has to be tobacco products, vaping products.
So they could sell chewing gum or mints?
A small amount.
Okay.
If you go in and it looks like a tobacco store that's a convenience store,
Then all right.
that's not an adult-only retail tobacco store.
All right.
It doesn't fit the definition. So we're talking incidental, a very small amount. Some municipalities have capped it at a percentage, but that's difficult to deal with.
I was gonna say, how do you decide what is not a lot?
It's basically, just, not getting into T-shirts and hats and a
But then
soda
must you
thing.
specify this then? Because depending on how you word this, it's gonna leave this open to interpretation to do anything.
By the end of this week, I expect that we're gonna have a clearer definition of adult-only retail store,
Okay.
possibly with a definition of incidental. We're gonna have more discussions tomorrow as to whether or not
And do we
we're
wanna,
gonna use
I think
that
we need to
we need to wait?
until we see what the state says.
I mean, we could, maybe, can we just approve it? What would be the word I wanna use,
You
approve
can
it?
conditionally approve it, Sharon.
Yes,
And then vote to upgrade it when you get new
yes,
definition.
yes. Do something like that. But I do think we need to wait for that, because I think this is,
And we do have to hold a public hearing, one more hearing before you adopt anything anyway.
Right, so
Okay,
that
okay.
would be done before you have a public
all right,
hearing.
okay, all right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Can I chime in on this? Mark Foss from Fletcher Tilton. I think it should be clarified to confirm that it's really just incidental to actual tobacco. Lighters, pipe cleaners, things like that, that you need with tobacco. Otherwise, you pick in the pocket of the convenience stores. That have pretty good compliance rate in this town as it is. You know what I mean? They're gonna be damaged by regulation if you adopt it already. If you're gonna put a retail tobacco store, you should really limit what they can say and have absolute clarity on that it's limited to incidental to tobacco. I was at a meeting a week ago, and someone was getting abused by the board because he had kitty litter was the one that was a big topic. And is that incidental? Because a guy comes in and wants to buy some tobacco, and he incidentally needs kitty litter while he's there. You know, it's.
I think there's a little.
I think clarity on that is absolutely essential if you're going to adopt the regulations, which we don't think is a good idea. But you should make it so you're picking my client's pockets the least amount possible.
Ken?
Well, it does say only purpose is to sell or offer for sale, resale tobacco products and tobacco paraphernalia. So
Mhm.
that would include
Mm-hmm.
the lighters and all of that other stuff.
And not kitty Okay.
All right.
That seems pretty clear.
It all comes
Yeah.
down to what the word incidental means, and it means different things to different people. That's what the concern is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to make a
We got the
motion
spirit of it,
about,
yeah.
Just so I'm clear, you want to have a cap at 18,
yes.
Mhm.
okay? And that includes 2 adult-only stores.
Correct.
And you want to retire them as they
Yes.
Fold up, yep.
expire
Option B.
or get turned in or
Correct.
are revoked or whatnot.
Right.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question on that as well? Would they be transferable by location?
To a new owner, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if a
Yeah.
new owner
Yes.
wants to buy just the permit, wants to take over just the permit but operate from a different location.
Oh,
No.
no.
Okay.
No, right?
That would be my understanding of this.
You'd have to-
I think you should be clear on that as well. I mean, I'm against caps for a variety of reasons.
I
Some
thought
are
we-
personal, but
that
once you
was
start having
somewhere in
the value
here.
of
I thought it said too, it had to be the same location.
starts
But
to
isn't it
smell
like that
like a
with the
corruption.
liquor license, that I can buy your liquor license but open up my liquor store somewhere else?
Yeah, and then it has
Correct.
independent value, and I may be the only one in the room that thinks this way, but when you start selling government services in the form of permits that you pay the town clerk $25, $50, $100 for, and then all of a sudden it has an independent value on the open market, it just has this aroma of corruption to it, even though, no, I'm not suggesting in any way that any town official is benefiting from it.
Yeah, I
But it
understand.
just doesn't sit well with me, and maybe I'm the only one that thinks that way, but town permits should not have independent value.
It says
That's
it has
market
to be, it's
control.
non-transferable.
It's non-transferable, right.
It's not transferable, but does that mean the location is not transferable or just the owner is not transferable?
So if you sold your business, they wouldn't be eligible for a tobacco license if you had.
Is it the
tobacco?
location or is it the owner that we're issuing?
I
for?
thought somewhere in here it said that it had to be the.
If I sold my convenience store to this gentleman, he could apply for the permit,
Yes.
Right,
Mhm.
yes,
for my open permit.
okay.
But
So if
It's
you.
the same
Sold her
location.
license And decided to turn the building into a retirement home and open the store across the street, she could not do it.
That's
She would
what
have
I'm
to
getting
forfeit
at.
the license.
Right,
And
so.
work enough extra years to afford retirement.
So you can't sell your license to someone who will then open a store in a different location.
Location, yeah. That was my understanding.
So that's different than liquor.
That is different than liquor, yeah.
I'm not
So
sure
you're-
that was
you're-
our intention at this
I
state
was
level.
gonna say, you're really muddying the waters.
Our intention was to put a premium value on tobacco permits, like liquor permits.
So, but.
So that part
but you
isn't
wouldn't
exactly-
do that.
They shouldn't have a value over and above the cost that you pay the town clerk for the application fee.
And that part isn't explicit in here anyways.
That's something that's important enough that it might be worth getting a legal opinion on that before we sign off on
Yeah, I'd like to think about that for another month.
it.
Because, like, you know, if you're a good operator, you want to move to a better location, but now you can't. Like, I don't want 1,000 cigarette stores in Harwich. I think we have plenty. That's how we kind of came to the cap, I thought. And tying them to their location, or letting them move around, I'm still capped with that number of cigarette stores. If they close down one store and want to move to a store, they want to move to a different store in the strip mall they're in. I'm not so sure I'm opposed to that.
Well,
By
Colin-
making them, by literally, you know, wiping them out. Some of these people are leasing these stores and not owning the real estate. So I think, I mean, the first pass was, we don't want to get any more retailers selling tobacco. We're having a problem with the vaping. We'd like to, you know, put that someplace special, I think was the, but now we're talking about livelihoods and really restrictions on how they're making their living, and to say that the real estate can't get upgraded
But the same owner.
doesn't sit
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Coughlin just moved his liquor store from Route 28 to Great Western Road. And that was perfectly permissible.
Right, because there's a lot of zoning that goes into where they can open up a new store. I think we're getting a little deep in the woods
Yeah, I agree.
on that whole thing.
I
I'd like
think
to,
we should
to
not
sleep
run-
on it another month
Because
before
the
we
Main
put a pen.
Street store on Main Street is moving down about 2 blocks, and they sell cigarettes.
Right, but will the store they're in continue to sell cigarettes while they
Well,
open?
we don't even
another-
know if the store they're in is going to be a store. It might
Right,
not be.
exactly.
In fact, it probably won't be. But, you know, all they're doing is moving everything down to, what,
Right, so it,
200 feet, something like
Yeah.
that. And there's no reason they shouldn't be able to do it. And they sell tobacco products.
right,
Right. Okay.
all right,
Okay, we'll continue next month.
okay.
Can I just ask one question? My name's Irene Bourne.
Irene, have you signed in?
No, I will on the way out. On the 2 cigarettes, the 2 licenses that you're reviewing tonight, they're for 21 plus shops, right?
Right.
But the other 16, are any of them 21 plus shops?
No.
So you're bringing 2 more shops into town because of this
Yes.
No,
ban?
well,
No, they wouldn't be coming probably, because one was locked. I'm just saying. You're bringing 2 more shops into the town because of the ban.
No.
I'm throwing it out there.
Well, I
Is
mean,
that
so
not
wait, you could see it
correct?
that way.
Is that how, is it,
No, we're trying to cap not having
I understand that,
6
but-
more stores.
right, and I get that. But up until now, you had 16 for a long time.
Yep.
And now with the ban, 2 people said, wait a minute, this is a business opportunity and we're gonna jump in. I'm just
Yeah,
trying
that's
to
gonna
get
happen.
an understanding.
And
Okay.
they had already
That's all.
requested, so
No,
that was
but I'm
part
just
of
trying to
the
understand.
negotiation.
Yeah.
Because in Harwich, we never had a vape shop, right?
No.
Well,
no.
you do now. You can go buy vape stuff right now
No,
everywhere.
21 plus.
No,
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 right.
right.
Well, you have that
Ah,
shop.
We have
smoke shop on,
we have a smoke
in West
shop
Harwich.
it's
in
not
West
21
Harwich.
and over.
Is that 21? No.
But that's not
But it-
21 plus.
But it's not a retail store. It says like smoke shop. It's like it's got all it's not a duck yet, but it
No,
quacks. Looks like one.
It was more of a curious question. Throw it out.
Yeah.
I just have one question. So there is no cap already in effect, right? You are just discussing to have a cap.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Any other comments, questions from the audience?
On the cap issue?
Hmm?
On the cap issue or general?
On this issue?
Yeah.
Cap?
Okay. Okay, so, motion to wait a month? Do we need a motion?
By that time, we'd have some better
Clarity, yeah.
regulation,
I can
more
usually, I can
specific,
probably get it to Megan by the end of the week.
better language.
Yes.
Then we can review it and look at it.
Yeah. So we make a motion to table it, we keep it open, is that how we do it?
You can continue until next month.
Continue until next month.
Mhm.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
What's next? Chairwoman. Madam.
Unfinished business?
Yep, the housing case at 262 Oak Street, that was on your meeting from last month. The building is still vacant, and it's still under construction. So I spoke with the owner.
Thank you. Yeah.
Folks, we're still in session.
Yeah.
So.
Do we have a sign-in sheet?
It's right at the door.
Oh, okay.
They're doing that on their way out. So it's still unoccupied, and they're still working on the problems there. So I spoke with the owner. She's gonna leave it unoccupied, so there's no tenant issue, and she says it'll be done before September. So I think you should just continue it till the next meeting, and we'll check in with her then.
Motion to continue that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you very much.
Megan, I have a question.
Not easy.
What
Don't worry, Larry.
is a smoke shop considered?
It's considered retail sales.
So anybody can go in there
Yep,
Yes,
and buy?
yep.
yes.
I thought you had to be 21.
They
That's where you're supposed to
actually
be.
sell very little tobacco products.
What do they sell?
They sell mostly paraphernalia.
Pipes.
Glass pipes and other
So
products.
they don't sell,
They don't sell cigarettes or cigars.
But they would
sell
sell the
apparatus.
e-cigarettes.
They sell some
they sell, okay,
vape
Bongs.
pods.
okay, stuff like that, okay.
So supposedly,
Go
you-
on in, take a look.
I'm going to go, I'm going to.
supposedly you have to be 21 to even go in, am I correct?
I'm
You
gonna
are
go in
not
tomorrow.
correct. No,
Oh.
anybody can go in there.
It's a retail
It's a
store.
retail store.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. New business?
We've got a couple minutes. So we could go to permits.
Okay.
We have one new camp, a lacrosse camp. They are just pending a pre-opening inspection, so I would recommend approval with the condition of a passing inspection. And then we have Ridiculous Fun, which is a new event permit. They do cotton candy at some events around town. That was inspected and ready for approval. And then we have two new tobacco permits. These are adult-only permit applications. The smoke shop, which is not going to be the official name, but they are applying now. They are going to be wanting to be located near Domino's out on Route 28 in West Harwich, in that plaza where the
Hardware store.
hardware store used to be. I don't think it's there anymore.
Harwich on.
I don't think it's there anymore. So they are applying for a permit for that location, and then the Harwich Smoke Shop is, I'm sorry, I got those backwards. The Harwich Smoke Shop is the one on 28, and the smoke shop without the name is going to the East Harwich Plaza. That was on your agenda last month that you continued. So at this point, without a cap, without a regulation, I don't know if you want to table it or just approve them pending inspections.
I think,
Why don't we wait and see?
so one's the one on 28, or no, it's a new one entirely.
New one entirely. These are both brand new stores.
Okay. Yeah, because what we're gonna get into is like, everyone's gonna be mad that we didn't pick them. We tabled one last month that wanted to open up an adult-only store, right?
Mhm.
Now there's a second application for an adult-only store.
Mhm.
I'm thinking that that the store, to get an adult-only store is closed now. Pending these people, I think they should be allowed, like, we need to put them in a line, so we don't have a third store come up and say, my location's gonna be better, and have a big argument, right?
I see where you're coming from.
Well,
So approve these two pending.
So how can we put them in line, assuming they meet all the criteria that we're gonna ask of them, but we need to queue them right now, I
well,
think,
they're
to some
they're
extent.
stamped in an order of date of application, so we do have a timeline of first come, first serve.
Perfect, that's all I'm saying.
But the cap hasn't been voted yet.
Right, so we can just.
if we get another one tomorrow,
Yeah,
your cap, and you have approved these, I can't say no to a 19th or a 20th until these regulations are in place.
I thought we were gonna cap at 18 anyway.
so
That's your
we'd like,
plan.
so we'd like to approve them
Okay.
pending, and that way we can stop taking applications
So,
I would like you to approve the regulations
first.
before we tell people we have a cap, because we don't have a cap.
Right, okay.
Can't we approve
So let
that
them-
pending on the information you're getting
the
from
language.
that
So we'll let them
lady?
keep queuing.
It's still
Because
gonna
I
be
think-
2 more months before these regulations
Right.
are adopted, and then they always recommend a 60-day enforcement time, grace period to draw down all their stock. So there won't be an official regulation on the books until October, I think, or
Right,
something.
right.
So
Well,
it gives people
the only
2 more
concern I
months.
have is that with the, you know, with the knowledge that there's gonna be limited, we're gonna get rushed.
Yes.
Could we vote the cap
Can we-
tonight and then the rest later?
Can we vote it except for the wording of,
You need a public hearing before you can adopt a regulation, so
Right.
it needs to be in the newspaper.
So
for
all
2
we need
weeks.
to do is just continue these people, and they're all time-stamped, and we're
Yes.
just business as usual.
Okay, so don't approve those 2 tobacco regulations.
Correct.
Continue those until next
Right.
month.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works.
Okay?
Keeps everybody rolling.
don't forget a third.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just need a motion on the permits.
There a motion to pass the permits?
With
I
the
thought-
exceptions
Did we,
that we did.
except for the 2 exceptions? Okay.
Okay.
Did we do,
Aye.
I didn't,
I'll second.
I didn't hear one. Did I?
The lacrosse camp needs a pre-opening inspection,
Yeah.
and you're going to hold the 2 tobacco permits until next month.
Right.
Those are your 2
Okay.
exceptions.
I'll
Yep.
vote yes.
Yeah,
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
So the new business hearings can start now, and we have an environmental impact report and definitive subdivision plan for 79 Headwaters Drive to demonstrate compliance with Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.211, installation of a sewage disposal system that will accommodate over 2,000 gallons per day. Environmental assessment prepared by J.M. O'Reilly and Associates, and a definitive subdivision plan prepared by Ryder and Wilcox.
Hi.
Good evening. I'm John O'Reilly with J.M. O'Reilly and Associates. This is Christian Davenport to my left. And also here are Stephanie Sequin and, I'm sorry, Becky Sharon with Ryder and Wilcox.
Want the big chair?
In talking to Becky and Stephanie, we thought I'd talk about the environmental impact report first and answer any questions, and then they can fill you in on the subdivision. You all have my packet of information, and this is a similar to report for the last 3 or 4 I've done for the town of Harwich, wherein we gather some information and make a determination on various things regarding the lot. First of all, the property is located off Headwaters Drive. It's within the Herring River estuary, and we've calculated the groundwater is anywhere between 22 and 42 feet below the existing grades, as the terrain is a rolling terrain, as you'll see when you see the road profiles. The soil conditions that were uncovered through soil testing conducted by Ryder Wilcox found sandy materials that have a high permeability rate and are suited for subsurface drainage facilities for both stormwater and sewage system. No groundwater was encountered. The property is not located within a Zone 2 and will be served by town water. And the property does not contain any endangered species or priority habitat site as mapped through the Natural Heritage Program. There are no wetlands on the property. The closest wetland is a old cranberry bog about 400 feet to the west of our site. Groundwater here is in a south-southwest direction towards that bog. And we've calculated the sewage flow is based on each lot. There's 4 lots being created. We're proposing to create duplexes on all 4 lots for a total bedroom of 8 per lot, for a subdivision total of 32 bedrooms, for a total sewage flow of 3,520 gallons per day. We've done the nitrogen loading calculations based on the Cape Cod Commission policy, and we have an average load of 9.11 parts per million of total nitrogen. We have concluded that the properties can support the duplexes. There will be no variances needed from Town of Harwich Sanitary or Title V for the placement of subsurface sewage systems. As I said, the nitrogen load is 9.11 parts per million. This area is not to be sewered as part of your comprehensive waste management plan. So we'd be looking to do on-site sewage disposal systems, of course. And we have a great separation of groundwater of 22 to 35 feet, depending on where the system is located within the subdivision. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I gave you a plethora of maps and charts. Most came from the Town of Harwich Comprehensive Wastewater Plan. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Looking at this, the calculations, and you come down with an average of 9.11.
Yeah.
Okay? Based on, and I'm going, this is old, but it is the one that we had, the nitrogen loading. According to that, the Cape Cod Commission believes that the 5 parts per million is appropriate use on Cape Cod. So you're above that.
Well, we're meeting the 10 parts per million that the state has mandated, you know, in.
That's the state, but this goes into the Herring River estuary.
Mhm.
All right? That's part of the CWMP. So there is the concern that you are above the nitrogen level of what's could possibly go into that estuary. So my question is, would you consider any alternatives?
Well, we would consider you mean alternative septic systems?
Yeah.
I think we would consider different alternatives, whether to lower the sewage flow on the subdivision or put denitrifying systems in the ground. But in review of the data, 10 parts per million has been our target.
All right, is that for the state of Massachusetts or Cape Cod? This is coming from the Cape Cod Commission. They're saying 5.
Right, it's a guidance policy for 5 parts per million through the Cape Cod Commission. We've been using 10 in this one and in others that we presented to you folks.
I guess my concern now is, and maybe you have, I'm just saying that that's state, that's not Cape Cod. And I know that we really have some issues with nitrogen here on Cape Cod, and I don't think they can be overlooked. So if, we're working on the CWMP, if we keep these things coming along and we keep saying, all right, we're gonna let this slide, and this slide, where are we? So I guess my concern is, I think something needs to be done with this. That would be my opinion. I don't know about anybody else, but not that I don't think it should, I'm not trying to stop it. I'm just saying I think we need to do something to reduce that.
That's a very good point.
It's a good
Anybody
point.
else?
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good point.
No,
I agree with you.
yeah. They're double amp.
Having coming off of wastewater, it's
No, it's a good
that's right up there at the top of my list, because I think the wastewater issue here on Cape Cod is very significant. It's not just here on Cape Cod. This is global. And we can't, I don't think we can, we've done it up till now, all right? And I think now that we're more aware, I think we have to take steps when something like this happens. It's only a little here, but if it's a little here and a little there and a little there, the next thing you know, they come back and say, guess what? We haven't reduced the nitrogen level at where we're supposed to, and we could be back at, them redoing part of the CWMP. So I guess for me, that is a concern.
Okay.
There's no chance to get this sorted because it's not even on the map, right?
Right, this area
This
is
area is not.
not in the,
Now with the,
resource area.
all right, so there are things like the nitrogen.
No, there are systems out there that would knock the nitrogen down.
All right.
Yes, they're pretty commonplace nowadays.
Oh, all right.
But one of the things that, when we met with staff and we reviewed the use of duplexes, we were using 10 parts per million. Again, it's a state Title V requirement, but your nitrogen-sensitive areas that limit it to 1 bedroom per 10,000 is based on that load of 10 parts per million. It's not based on the 5.
And maybe that was okay then, all right? What I'm saying is, knowing what we know now with the issues of wastewater on Cape Cod, I don't think we can say what they're doing in the rest of Massachusetts necessarily applies to what's happening here on Cape Cod, because this landmass is different. And for me, that's an issue. That's an issue.
And just to add another element of concern, you're exactly one house lot away from Hinckley's Pond, and Hinckley's Pond is now suffering an algal bloom as we speak. Now that's mostly phosphorus, not nitrogen.
Yeah,
But even so, it's the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
There's more phosphorus in lawn care than there is in human waste, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
it's part, this nitrogen too, and they both, I'll bet, will end up in Hinckley's Pond to a certain degree. So the less nitrogen you put in your groundwater, the better.
Well, with regards to Hinckley's Pond, we're downgrading from Hinckley's Pond, so groundwater is flowing from Hinckley's towards our site, through our site, and continues on to the
That's
southwest.
good. So maybe you'll have a phosphorus problem instead.
Touche.
Do you think you could come back with some nitrogen load that's more appealing to these guys with a different type of system
Well,
than a standard?
I think I need to talk to my client and find out what he would like to do. Obviously, we're here in front of you with the environmental impact report because we're over 2,000 gallons a day.
Yep.
So we would need to either look to modify the wastewater or introduce innovative technology to some of these homes to knock that down to 5 parts per million. If that's what the board is telling us, that you're not going to you're not looking at anything above
I
5.
agree, that was a very good
Observation.
finding, and I think it is time to start doing.
Well, I think we have to start
right
making,
direction.
making decisions like, you know, up to, you know, maybe 5 years ago, this would have, you know, been okay. But if we keep allowing this, we're never going to get, if these are the recommendations, at some point we have to say this is what we're going to follow, or it all goes out the window. And like I said, I've read that whole CWMP. Trust me, I have
You're
read that.
still smiling.
I have read that whole thing, and I can really buy into this. I think it's a really important issue here on Cape Cod, and I don't think the people really understand how important it is until it actually affects you, which is a human nature. Until it affects you, you're not going to really understand it, and then it's going to be too late. Then to clean it up is going to be a real mess.
Can I ask through the chair what is your limit, regulatory limit? Is it the 10?
I think it has been up till now, but I agree that if it's concerning Cape Cod and the Cape Cod Commission.
This technical bulletin is as of April 1992, and that was saying 5. So maybe, like I said, up till now, maybe everybody got away with 10 because it was Massachusetts. Cape Cod Commission, who is a big part of the CWMP, is now saying, you know, it's here. It's here. I guess, you know, for me.
I'm just going to ask the question. I mean, no disrespect by it. If your regulations say 10, and all of a sudden the board feels that you need to hold 5, I'm just wondering, do you have the ability to do that? And I do mean that with all due respect.
I understand. I think we do. I don't know if we need to.
Our regulations don't have a number
Our regulation will have a specific number.
that I'm aware of,
So that leaves us,
able to decide.
okay. If I feel that maybe this is a time to change things and start saying what the Cape Cod Commission had said, many years ago, which might change if they redid it to even a lower amount. But if the board, please, if you want to make any comments.
Or do you have an alternate system that you can put in? It's going to lower the nitrogen level?
Well, there are, yes, there are systems out there that we can install. I think I need to talk to my client as to whether or not the Davenport companies look to the smaller homes, not having 8 bedrooms on each home, or put the 8 bedrooms on each lot and then put some alternative nitrogen reduction system in it. I don't want to say we'll put the systems in if we can reduce the load by simply reducing the number of bedrooms.
Just so you know, this isn't anything personal. I just really have a very strong feeling about the nitrogen here on Cape Cod. I really do, with wastewater.
This is a decent sized project, 32 bedroom. So maybe we'll come back. We have to talk it out with staff and
Owners and stuff.
and you could see where the board's
No,
moving
I
towards.
do, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to push the board. I think at this point we'd be looking to come back.
Yeah.
Because you're not prepared to go either way at this point.
No, I think it's because it's,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
money involved, and that's a big project you've got going.
So-
It's got to all make sense. So-
As far as the environmental impact report, we'd like to continue that discussion.
Yeah.
I think you'll be talking about the subdivision next.
Yeah.
When would be your next meeting?
September 10th. More comfortable.
Oh, this is cozy. Do you have anything else?
No.
I think we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
talking.
your time.
Oh,
I'll make a motion. No, I'll make a motion. We continue it.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So that was for the environmental impact review. Now we have the subdivision on the same property.
Okay.
So there are two separate votes, two separate things.
Yeah.
I think Larry had it.
I just have one, I'll defer to you, Megan, but, and I appreciate where I obviously agree with what you said. But we may want a legal opinion on the regulatory issue of going from 10 to 5. Just remember, Megan, that we have a regulation now on small divisions on Muddy Creek that lowered that, but we don't have it elsewhere, so.
What regulations is it?
On the Muddy Creek, it was development, it was, I think a division of like 4 or 5 homes. It reduces the output, I think, to 5 ppm.
So when we did Muddy, what you're saying was when we did the Muddy Creek
But I'm saying
project.
they have a
it-
specific regulation that capped that, I believe.
Oh,
They're not in the Board of Health regulations. Maybe they're in the 6 ponds or zoning or something.
I was thinking there might be no zoning then, but I would just,
Or was-
I'd
or
really
what-
know.
or was
I
it the
just- I defer to
CWMP?
Megan. It might be good
Yeah.
to double check on
Yeah,
that.
we'll double check on that, but I remember looking for it, and it's not anywhere in our regulations that require it to be 10 or 5. I know in other
Okay.
towns it is.
We-
They do have that, but not in Harwich.
I'll find out as well.
Okay,
because I remember
thanks,
that.
Larry.
Just a cautious.
So the second part of this application is a definitive subdivision plan designed by Ryder and Wilcox.
I'm Becky Sheridan. I'm with Ryder and Wilcox, and we have done the definitive subdivision plan. It is basically a 4-lot subdivision. The lots vary from around 40,000 to as high as 50,000 square feet. We have designed a road with a cul-de-sac to the town standards. And the subdivision is designed to the town standards. We performed drainage calculations to the town standards for the impervious area that we're adding with the road. And we have done test holes and designed infiltration basins that will capture